Well, my name is Ben Sorenson, and I'm with Sorenson Automotive Incorporated. Today, I will be showing you guys how to rebuild a Subaru. Yes, a notorious Subaru. This particular block is from a 1998 Subaru Legacy. It's a 2.2 and through rod bearing. So, you got to fix it because you can't really find any motors for this thing with decent mileage. You got to rebuild them to get a good quality block, get a good quality product, I mean. So, first things first is you got to remove the engine from the vehicle. Take the heads off, timing belt, all that good stuff, and then you got to split the blocks here. That's what I have here, is the split blocks. When these things throw rods, a couple things happen. One thing that happens is, what could happen, this one, this rod that I'm going to show you is not from this particular, but if you don't keep up on the maintenance, guys, this is what can happen. This was not a racing engine. Nobody raced it. It was a normal vehicle. Just a lack of maintenance. And somebody decided to drive it low on oil. You got to be checking the oils. And that's what happens. That's what a bad rod looks like, and that's what a good rod looks like. So, unfortunately, on these ones, like I said, a few things can happen when it throws a rod. It's not typical. It's not like a 350 where you can pull the head, pull the rod out, pull the crank out of the bottom, just replace the bearing or the rod. This is a split block design, so everything has to come out. You got to pull the pistons, split the block. You just even get the crank out, or the rods. One thing that can happen on these things, well, it always happens, is that, well, in my experience, is that when you throw the rod, that the pistons will oblong. So that means is that they turn into like an egg-shaped form. So what I had to do is bring this down to Wagaman Brothers in Minneapolis and have them overbore it. It's overboard 20 over, and then get some new pistons. These are true, you know, full circle, no eggs going on here. So we're gonna have a good product after this. It's my crank, machine crank. It's kind of work we do around here, guys. We get it done right. We don't half-ass stuff. If you don't do these right, they will blow up again. I've seen it a million times. You got to do it right. So once you get your machine work done, once you get your connecting rods refabbed and your crankshaft and your cylinder walls overboard, and once you got new pistons, this is the step that we're at now, is we're going to assemble everything. We're going to put this guy into that block, make it all one block again. Make sure that you have some good bearings. I had already replaced them in here. I'll show you how to do one. They're fairly simple to put these in. Just pay attention to the placement of the bearings, as they are all different. You got your thrust bearings, but they're all different. So right here I pulled one out just so I could demonstrate how to put that in. So you got your bearing here. It's gonna, you'll see the slotted tang. You want to make sure that that slotted tang is always in there. Put that in, put that guy in there. And you want to make sure that it's flush on both sides here. Now when you bolt the block it might go down a little bit more, but you just want to make sure that you have them. Once you got all the bearings in, you're going to want to take some engine assembly lube. And you're going to want to put a thin layer on all the bearings. Like so. Alright. Now once you have all the main bearings installed, you want to take your machine crankshaft and you're going to want to, first of all, wash it with soap and water, or this, or both. Actually I do both. But machine crankshafts, they get pre-coated with a film substance that that prevents it from corroding. So you want to have these all nice and cleaned up here. Once they're cleaned up, it's ready for assembly. Alright, so now I got the crank in here. As you can see, now we're going to start assembling the block halves. A few things that you're going to need is that you got to, and you never want to reuse these guys, is that there's some oil passages and coolant passages here. Right here. This is ridiculous how they do this. Is that, you know, they run these ports through the middle of the block. Like if the coolant leaks here, it's going into the crankcase, and that's not good. It's going to wash out your bearings. It's going to fry them. You know, this is a very, very key. All these ports here are very key. You got to pay close attention to the way that these things, to the way the seals go in there, the condition, the quality of the seals. And the way that you sit the block half on the other half. Now, never, I repeat, never use an aftermarket seal on these Subarus, except for head gaskets. We use the Felpro ones, but for the main components, the main seals, you always want to use dealer only. That's typically all we use. I've replaced tons of rear mains on Subarus. Sometimes customers bring me Felpro ones. They bring me aftermarket seals. I won't install them anymore. They leak every time. I'm not joking. It's very important, and I picked that seal up for $11 from Subaru. So don't want to hear the excuse that it's too expensive. So that's your rear main seal here, and these are the oil and coolant seals right here. This guy's gonna go right here. And you got these guys. Oh. I think that's in there now. Doesn't matter, they're both the same lip style on both sides. All right. That's that. Another thing that you're going to need, some people use Ultra Black, I won't do it. I use, this is from Subaru, it's called 3-Bond OEM sealant. You can always tell by a Subaru if it's been rebuilt before. Like, I believe this one was rebuilt before, because you can kind of see that the block halves were sealed with, I believe that was used was Ultra Black. You can kind of see some blackness around the mating, and that's what it was. Is that all this? That's Ultra Black. So Ultra Black was used for this, but I don't use that. I use the correct stuff. This is 3-Bond, $40 from the dealer. It's not that bad for a big tube. You can also buy it in small tubes from Honda, but it's called Honda Bond, and that's the same stuff. Works just fine. But if you're in a crunch for cash and you need just the small tubes, it's about $20 for a small tube. This is $40. So what we'll be doing now is, since we got the crank in place, we got the seals all in place here, what we're going to want to do is install these connecting rods. Now this is where it can get tricky, so you got to be very careful when you install these. And not only that, but you have to be very careful when you remove these connecting rods from this block. A few things that you want to pay attention to is never mix around the order of the connecting rods. The connecting rods that come out of the Subarus, they got to be put back in the right spots and in the right positions. A few things to take notices of are, and you don't want to switch the caps. These caps right here, come off like that. Pay attention. See, is it on this side? You can't really see it on this side here. Well, can't really see it on that. But the caps are marked. On this one, it reads AKH. Get an angle for you guys. So this one says AKH, and then on this side, right here, it says, what does it say? HK23, I believe, is what. So basically, the caps have to go on the connecting rods, the correct connecting rods. You don't want to mix them up. Don't want to get them out of order. You don't want that happening, or that happening. So when these are installed on the crankshaft here, very key that you see this legacy sign symbol right there. It's a Subaru sign. Those are always going to be facing forward. It cannot be installed like this. Well, they can be installed, but you're going to have problems. You always have to install them with the legacy facing forward. So we will now start assembling the rods. Like I said, they all have to be in the right spot. I'm going to take a break here. I got to go look at my procedure and just double check and make sure a few things. So I will be back. Now, like before, with our main bearings, you're going to want to apply that assembly lube to both the cap and the connecting rod. Like I said, always watch out for that legacy sign. Make sure that legacy sign is facing forward. So what we're going to do now is install this onto here. Got that. Now we're going to come and put the cap on here. And see, I had marked these things, so they're good to go. And one thing that you're going to want to do before you put those connecting rod nuts on is apply a little bit of engine oil to the threads. That's going to help get an accurate torque. So now, install these nuts. Some of these can kind of be a little bit difficult to get on because they're kind of down there a little bit, but so as you can see, I got some of the rods bolted down in there now. What you do when you get these all in place and right, you just want to snug them up, and then you're going to want to go around and get yourself a torque wrench. And you're going to want to torque these to their correct torque with this 45 foot-pounds, or 45 Newton meters. Unfortunately, I don't have anybody to hold a camera for me today, so I already torqued these down. So you want to torque those down to 44 Newton meters, which is like 35 foot-pounds. Just go around every one. Like I said, remember the placement of every rod. Make sure that the caps are on correct. So you can read those CAHY, HY23.